young people, all below the ages of 25, in the last 8 weeks alone. Now, what is this telling you? This is telling you that the death rate is accelerating, and the connectivity to the cloud is at the stage where all of the biometric data from the population is now shifting to the point where control mechanisms can be utilized. Directed energy weapons can now be utilized against someone who is vaccinated. And your cell phone becomes your assassin, because the 5G signal that powers this can be increased just marginally, and the nanoscale technology and the antenna and the self-assembling microcircuitry in the vaccine formulation creates a spike in voltage and stops your heart. That's how it works. That's exactly how it works. And if it doesn't stop your heart, it creates a brain aneurysm, simply because the heavy metal toxins that bind themselves to the synapses of the brain actually create pressure, and when the voltage spikes, it bursts the blood vessels, and you have an aneurysm and die. This has just happened in Germany, where 7 members of the AfD political party were frequency assassinated using energy-directed weapons. And we know this simply because the location in which all of them were all of their locations, the data on frequency modulation was seen to spike 16% at the exact time of their death. That is hard data that intelligence sources have.
Wow.
We are seeing the weaponization of the COVID-19 biological weapon agenda to be used now as a political weapon to disable and remove opposition. That is where we have come to. And hence my reason for saying that Barbados has arrived at the threshold of a police state, a totalitarian surveillance police state that is the precursor to a fascist ideology and implementation in this society. Well,
wow.
I just wish to say I make a very clear statement to those members of the audience who may be affiliated to either the Prime Minister of Barbados or the party to which she is leading. Understand one thing very clearly, and I say this with the utmost gravity. You have no idea who you're messing with.
My friends, you are live right here with our guests out of Barbados, and it seems something happened. I'm not sure what happened earlier, but we may have to get these gentlemen back in here to look at other areas of what is happening in Barbados in full as we open this discussion to you. I think I'm getting a feed from some of you that you were missing some of this discussion. Quite interesting. But it's okay. It's okay. All of this is expected. When you are dealing with matters of importance, such as we are dealing with tonight, it is expected that you're going to have such glitches in the systems as they function. And that's okay. We have with us Mr. Fred Corbin and Mr. Kemar Stewart. And of course, we're looking at some very interesting matters here in relation to what is happening in Barbados. Please share the link with all your friends. Bring them in for the rest of it. We're now up to 9 o'clock and we're going to take a short break and come right back. And when we come back, we're going to be looking at the whole matter of surveillance in Barbados and whatever else that is happening there, which I think is quite interesting as we examine this, which could be a very serious matter moving across the Caribbean region. We come right back in a minute.
Welcome to BT Duty Free Incorporated, with the widest collection of timeless fragrances and perfumes are embodied in elegance and class. We have fragrances from around the world at the most amazing prices. No other outlet carries the collection of fragrances we have in stock. For any fragrance you desire, see us at BT Duty Free Incorporated in the heart of Bastille. Anything you need at the price you can afford, you can find it all at BT Duty Free Incorporated at Liverpool Row in Bastille. Call us at 466-3765. We can get you any fragrance you need.
Well, welcome back. And of course, you're live here with us on the Raw Truth, live with me on the Raw Truth. Of course, we have in the sitting room, in the waiting room, Mr. Fred Corbin and Mr. Kamar Stewart. We're looking at what is happening in Barbados. Quite interesting, I think. And when the day is over, if it is that Barbados has now become or is progressing in the direction of becoming a police state, with full autonomy, full authority given to the police to manage everything in that country and spy on everybody else in your house, on your road, and digitize everything in a way that your money becomes not yours anymore, but, as was stated in Revelation 13. And I keep going back to that because it's a very practical thing. Sometimes we think the Bible is a book written, as I said, by white men. It's a very practical recording of our history. And I think if you read what happened early and what is to come, somebody must know something else that we don't know, which has written these things. And it is now a matter that we have to begin to look at what we are doing, where we are going, to make sure that we comprehend these things in a way that is going to make sense to all of us. Mr. Corbin and Mr. Stewart have been outlining to us exactly what has been happening in relation to the developments in Barbados. And of course, it is becoming a very serious matter, as the Caribbean region is currently very tightly knit or knitted in relation to how prime ministers function. And if Barbados is taking lead in these things, then it seems to me that that in very short order, the same thing will be all over the whole place. And the region itself will become very similar in its action in relation to fulfilling the mandate of the agenda as we see it moving into the year 2030. Tell us about the matter of how evident is the surveillance thing? What are you seeing anything in Barbados to tell you that you're being spied on at this point, or maybe they are being decoyed with it? What are you seeing, Mr. Corbin?
Well, I think that for those of the Caribbean diaspora that have visited Barbados in the past year, it's very apparent to everyone driving on the road that you would see the over 450 cameras that have been installed on the highways and byways of Barbados. 450 cameras. Not only that, but we have these gantries that have been put up over the highway that you have to drive under, which have cameras looking at your car, which now is another system that is linked to a RFID sticker that's put on your windshield to be able to geofence your vehicle in the event and when the digital framework and system comes into being. Okay? Now, what we also see is that we see insurance companies inserting a GPS unit into the diagnostic port of your vehicle so that they can track every single location, and under their excuse is so that they can serve you better in the case of an emergency. Right.
Yes.
Right. Well, a friend of mine had an emergency the other night coming home at 2 a.m. Okay. A lady had a flat tire, and the insurance company is yet to turn up.
Wow.
She called me and woke me up. And when I saw the number show up on the phone, I said, "Where are you?" That's how I answered the phone. I said, "Where are you?" And she said, "I'm all the way in St. John. I need help. I have a flat tire. I can't move." I said, "Lock the doors, keep the car running. If you have to drive away, drive on the tire to somewhere that you need to get to where there's some. Just lock
Yes.
the doors, drive the car. You can buy a tire, you can buy a wheel. Drive to somewhere where there's people." Okay. So she did that, destroyed the tire in the process. I went up, changed the tire, everything, got her back running and so on. All she had to do was buy a tire. However, the insurance company never showed up.
Wow.
Even although there were 15 calls made to the person that was supposed to respond, but never answered the phone. Now, at the end of the day, irrespective of all of that, we have over 450 surveillance devices on the roads and so on in Barbados. We have the insurance companies that are fully part of the digitization of your insurance information. And then we have the RFID stickers that are put on the windshield so that they can tell whether your insurance is paid up or not. And that insurance, and I'm sorry, the RFID sticker on your car can read the RFID in your digital ID. So if you have a digital ID that is pinned, the minute you pin it, the pin is used to access your bank account. So if you are designated driver within a 15-minute city, because this is the goal is to have 15-minute cities.
Uh-huh.
As soon as you pass a certain threshold outside of your 15-minute city, the RFID will alert the RFID in your ID card. Your ID card is pinned to your bank account, and you can be fined up to $1,000 for violating the perimeter of your 15-minute jurisdiction, including the ability for the GPS unit that is attached to your car to hit the kill switch in the ECU, shut your car down. Bye.
Wow.
This is the reality. And this is already happening in Australia and in New Zealand. And the reason I know this is that I have a friend of mine who is an automotive mechanic engineer, just like myself. And he had a recovery truck turn up in his yard with a car on the back of it, which had been sent by the insurance company to have the ECU reset because it had been shut down because it went past a geofence area.
That's the matter of zoning. So zoning is now critically important.
Now, what we have to remember too, that in 2023, Barbados was digitized digitally from the air. This is what's known as aerial geospectrometry, where the entire island was scanned. An aircraft was flying backwards and forwards over the island for 2 or 3 days and scanned the entire island digitally. What this allows is to create digital walls virtually on a map of the entire island so that geofencing can be put in place. And then services can be allocated within those geofencing. You can have a supermarket, a medical place, a post office, so on. And everyone who lives within that certain jurisdiction, that is where they stay. This is the ultimate control method, simply because you have control of their bank accounts. This is the digital ID. In addition to that, your carbon footprint can be interdicted, and you can be told you ate too much meat last week, so we're interdicting your carbon footprint and charging you accordingly. And you have no control over it. This is the danger of a digital ID. In addition to that, when you go for medical services, if the digital ID shows that you may have a pre-existing condition that warrants, in their eyes, that you be inoculated with a biological weapon, you have no control. There is no access to no consent form. You will be force vaccinated.
And this is law, is it?
It's not law. Don't forget. Remember one very, very important thing. This is the reason why I said we need to educate the public on natural law. Remember, we exist in the Vatican maritime law jurisdiction, which is de facto. It is not de jure. De jure is natural law. De facto is the maritime law or fiction, legal fiction of the straw man. And this is the reason why you have a birth certificate that's written in all capital letters.
Yes.
That is the legal fiction. That is not you.
Indeed.
Okay. And this birth certificate is then marketed on the stock exchange. You, as chattel property, are marketed on the stock exchange, and your weight, whatever you weigh, is your value in gold, which they trade on the stock exchange, making money off of you, while the insurance companies offer you life insurance, why they offer you premiums, why they offer you policies and so on, so that they can trade your value and weight in gold while you live. And long after you die, they're still trading you. This is the maritime system in which we exist. And the entire legal system is framed behind that. Okay, so when you go to a court, the court is where your legal fiction is brought before brought before the court. And when you are standing in the dock, this is the maritime system. A ship docks. You are docking to face whatever judgment or whatever decision is made. The maritime legal fiction has no jurisdiction to make laws. They can only make statutes and regulation. It is important to understand that there is no law that can be made by a legal fictional entity. Natural law exists, and common law, you can make laws based upon the sovereignty of the individual that is standing before you and be able to have jurisdiction in that capacity. You do not have the ability to make laws under maritime legal fiction. It is a fraud, has been for centuries.
Wow. Wow. What can I say? This is explosive stuff. Mr. Stewart, talk with us. Where do you come into all of this with the National Party? Because obviously you might have to start raising hell to save the natural rights of people in that country. Where do you go?
But the new National Party is seeking to offer a full development plan for the entire population, not just the population, but the Caribbean. And this plan is supported by the Caribbean Free Winds project, which Fred could explain to you.
Yeah.
When we look at bringing developments that will strategically benefit Caribbean people living right here in the Caribbean. So we are currently compiling a constitution that is based off the sovereignty of the people right here in Barbados. We often try to say Barbados for Barbadians, Trinidad for Trinidadians at first, Jamaica for Jamaicans. However, the system that we have is still very much exploitive. Where a few international capitalists in association with some local capitalists now control the wealth. And what we're saying is political leadership in the Caribbean turning into what we call dynasties, where elected politicians turn the state into their own personal, like gulag type operation, where it is no type of rules and dictatorship is the order of the day. So the new National Party is saying that that is not the road we wish to take, that we wish for every free sovereign being to have rights, and for our constitution and our laws to protect those rights, and to bring forward the development plan in every sphere of life for Caribbean people. So from a legal perspective, from a political perspective, based in transforming the political system. So in Barbados, we have a president, but it's not a president elected by the larger population. It is a president elected by already elected MPs, and those MPs also elect the prime minister. So you have a parliament, and the parliament votes on who is the leader, i.e. the prime minister, and they also vote on who is the president. So there's no separation of powers.
So tell me something. Hold on, sir. This is my question to you, and my apology for butting in like this. But listen, this is my question. If the World Economic Forum is mandated to take over the world and manage the affairs of the world in all countries, as we see it. And if all governments are now shafted in line to whipped in line to fulfill this mandate, and if all the systems in the world as we see them are set to mandate that all men as we know it today comply with their system of management, how do you see a government, any government, standing outside of this framework to protect the interests of the people? It might be a very strange question, but I would like to know. Any response on this?
Well, you say mandated, but mandated by whom? Like, who put them there? Who gave them jurisdiction? Who gives them power? Where do they derive this power from?
Yes.
Right?
Well, yes, because if it is, for example, you look at Barbados right now, and of course, if Barbados is one of the countries that are now functioning to implement the agenda uh, uh, as we know it, and everything in governance is now moving to ensuring that happens, unless government itself cuts loose from the influence of the World Economic Forum, then that might be something else. But how difficult do you see this becoming if it is that any government is to stand independent of this body to ensure that people's rights are protected and maintained? What are you seeing?
In 2018, Barbados, this was after the general election, of course, Barbados went into an IMF program. And Christine Lagarde said on live television that she'd like to let the public know that it was Barbados' choice and it was Barbados' program that they brought to the IMF. And that the IMF did not mandate them or try to force them in any way. It was the country's choice. It was their prerogative, right? And that the country owns its own program, and the program was homegrown. That is the Barbados Economic and Recovery Transformation Plan, in which we had 2 IMF programs. So the same way how we supposed to have a choice on if we wanted to go to the IMF or not, I suppose it was a choice of our leadership to go to the World Economic Forum. There's no mandate at the CARICOM level, and there's no mandate at the domestic level that our leaders are supposed to attain to the forum and implement whatever. It's a choice. So it's like a club. You choose to join the club, and therefore you go by whatever rules the club will provide along with the other countries. So there are countries around the world.
So then, sir. So, and this now becomes my question: why is it that everybody's getting this absolute impression, and I put that in quotes, that unless you fall in line and do as you're told, you're in serious trouble? What's happening here?
I suppose that is fright, fear, political brainwash, propaganda. Wars are fought on propaganda. So you need to have critical think within your leadership, right? So Barbados at this point, right? We could bring it close to home. Let's look at the Venezuela situation in America, right?
Yes.
There are sides of the propaganda war going on. There's the American side, right? And then there's the Venezuela side.
Yes.
And leadership has to take into consideration both sides and hear and feel and see, and what's being said is diplomatic. All wars have diplomatic communications. So it has been proven time and time again, before the actual physical war takes place, there's conversations between the leaders and the leadership. Right? So Barbados does not have to play this subservient role. Our leaders, because of the mentality that they're on, usually corrupt and wanted to pill for the system. We've had majority attorneys at law, all queens councils and kings councils, as leaders of this country. Right? From the Loyal Legal Fraternity in Barbados, the Bar Association. Right? And when you check out the laws that are passed within Barbados, you will see that there are laws that are strategically set up to benefit members of the legal fraternity or the bar.
Yes.
Right? So that does not have to be the case. So let's just say we were like Cuba and we train doctors, and the majority of our politicians were doctors, then you would more follow, our society would have more of a medically leaning type of leadership,
Mhm,
right?
mhm, mhm,
So I am saying that there needs to be diversity in leadership, so you can have a diverse set of views, as opposed to electing 25, 30 lawyers every year and expecting these attorneys, majority of who are either criminal or corporate lawyers, right? Who just get in the government to, fatten pockets, get contracts, get this, and basically run the system as it was before, which was an exploitative system, right? An exploitative system set up by the colonizers, in which they had agents who communicated between the British and the population. So it still continues as it was before, but this is a new age, right? We see leadership emerging. We see new leadership emerging. We see Ibrahim Traore emerging in Burkina Faso, and we're seeing young leaders like Naib, uh, Berkeley, and so we're seeing new philosophies of leadership, all of which are not following the status quo. So it led me to think, because I once upon a time believed that there was no choice. I once upon a time believed that every leader had to walk the tightrope. But that is not so. You walk the tightrope if you buy into whatever agenda is being sold by whoever is selling it, right? So you have countries in the world who defy the big bad America. You have Ukraine who's defying Russia, right? And some people will say to Zelensky, well, you can't defy Russia and survive, but he's defying them and he's surviving. So yeah.
Mr. Corbyn, well, of course, we know that America preys on the weak. It's very obvious that and it was said by a military expert that the only war that America fight is with weak countries. It can't fight big bad people because they'll rip them apart. But now you look at the system as it is being set up, Agenda 2030, and then you look at the level of bombardment that people face, especially coming out of 2020, 2019, 2021, between that period. Now you have a whole lot of lawsuits and all kind of things being filed against some of these companies, which have abrogated the rights of a lot of people. And then you move into 2025, into 2030. And now it becomes what? Of course, another pandemic even. It might be a mental pandemic, a psychological pandemic, because people are now set to think and believe all kinds of crap. The point now is this. If it is that, and from what you said, education is important. However, you look at the level of governance that we're seeing. Our people are quite government oriented, and it is very sad that most of us are even dependent on government to the point where if your favorite government is not in, you can't eat. If your government is in, you can't send your children to school. If your government is not in, it is so political. And then you look at the effect this is going to have on people when a government which becomes the people's favorite tells them that unless you do X, Y, Z, no money, no food, no this, no that, and all the rest of the crap that goes with it. How? Well, maybe this question should be for Mr. Stewart. But how could any political party or any new government influence a people when their psychology is bent on the popular to think differently or behave differently, given the nature of what I'm seeing happening here? Can this be explained? Is there any rational position for this moving forward, given the kind of influence we're seeing with government across the world, and especially in the Caribbean region, where we have become so dependent on government? How could any government official, a new government, a new party, influence any people at this point, given the amount of millions of dollars that these governments are prepared to spend to keep them people in line? You're not there to give away money to people. You're there to help them to become real. But on the other side of the fence, they're prepared to give them a cow or give them a pot of gold or give them whatever else they want to promise them, as long as that is effective. They're going to promise them. And many of them will listen because they're foolish enough to do it. They're absolutely susceptible to being gullible. How do you see yourself and your party influencing Barbados to think rationally, moving between now and 2030? If we are to save our people, and I'm asking this question not just as a Barbados problem, but as a regional problem. We have a problem. How are we going to reach our people at this level? Anyone of you want to take this answer? Talk to me.
Yeah. Well, the people are showing within themselves that they could take it on. Just look at the voter turnouts to Caribbean elections. Extremely low, below 40%. Look at Jamaica's voter turnout. Look at Guyana's voter turnout. Look at the voter turnout in Barbados for the last 2 elections. Just look at it worldwide, and you will see how low it is. So the people are actually boycotting government and what is government. Hence the reason why a lot of these governments are seeking to use immigration to bring non-nationals and, let them loose in all of these countries to vote. Right? So voting has not become an economic opportunity. So there will come a time where people lose total confidence in what is government, and the people will set up their own structures to govern themselves.
But right now, so again, you look at Jamaica, for example, as a practical place, a practical reference point. People are so tired that nothing you could tell them right now means anything. The political party that is new or even appearing out of the blue with wings like angels right now coming in and saying, "Oh, we are here to save you." They're not studying them, sir, because everybody tired. They're tired as hell. Nobody's studying them. How are you going to crack into this? Look at Barbados. No, just asking, because this is a very practical position. People are tired. The black dog to monkey. You swap black dog for monkey. One term the PIP, the other term the JLP, the other term back to PIP, the other term back to and you keep swapping black dog for monkey for 2, 3, 4 decades. And now, what are we expected to say or do at this point, given the reality that people have been facing with the con artistry and all the crap and the madness and the criminal actions of politicians across the entire region? What are the people supposed to do at this point, sir? This is a very practical question. Yes, Mr. Corbin, go ahead.
I just have one word to answer that. It's called knowledge. Because knowledge is the greatest weapon against tyranny that has ever been created.
Yes.
And this is why you hear me say truth, knowledge, and education. I begin my Saturday morning programs with those words.
Yes.
Welcome to 246 Bayesian Vibes Radio, where truth, knowledge, and education comes to you straight up. If we're not prepared to impart knowledge and education, then we will be following the script that has been put in place through social engineering, radio and TV, on our population for the last 175 years. And at the end of the day, knowledge is the greatest weapon in the hands of someone who understands that a change needs to happen, because you cannot implement a paradigm if the opportunity for change is not become a knowledge factor. Very, very important. Remember, one of the greatest military strategies of the Chinese dynasties, Sun Tzu.
Yes.
When he understood very clearly that the mind of the enemy is the greatest weakness. The mind of the enemy is the greatest weakness. Really and truly, a population that does not know how to vote, other than to run down the road behind a truck and wave flags and jump up and down and so on and keep a lot of noise, is actually your enemy, because they don't have the knowledge to understand the paradigm that can release them from slavery. Whereas if we understood knowledge, we bring truth, knowledge, and education, and we are willing to educate our people with knowledge, we have the power to grasp the sovereignty within each one, and that flame begins to burn. And that flame now starts to inflame others, and we have the impetus for societal change. And
Yes.
the paradigm for great progress then is laying hold of the opportunities that knowledge brings.
Mr. Corbin, I have not seen it myself, but I get it from very practical sources, and I'm gonna tickle your thoughts for a minute. When an election is coming around, you know that couple $1 million spent, not you?
Mhm.
And you know that when people go to vote, who vote is who collect X amount of money to make sure that they put the X beside the party. You know that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Now nobody can. I don't know who get the money. Nobody don't blame me. I don't know who get, but it is said, and it is knowledge on the ground who get money to vote. Now I'm saying, sir, if political parties control people the way they have been controlling them for as long as they have been controlling them, and if all people care about, if people are so impoverished that all they can see is the 2 pounds of flour, the little piece of chicken, and then they're going to school tomorrow morning and getting two uniform, if they even get so much out of it. And for those who are lucky, they might get a piece of land and a house, or who is lucky get a car and whatever else they get. And that is all they get from it. If this is the reward for marking an X, then Mr. Corbin, how are people? Yes, knowledge, but people are kept impoverished so they can control them, sir. And if a man is so hungry that all he can see is the 2 pounds of chicken back you're going to give him, and the 2 pounds of rice, or his pitney going to school, or the piece of land you're going to give him because he can't buy it, or his car, he get a car because he can. If all they can see is that, based on the promises they get, and for those who are smart, to make sure that they get it before they go, because a lot of them get con as well. Right? If this is the reality, how do we change this in our people to get them to a place where they begin to think practically? If poverty, note my words now, reigns king in the societies across the Caribbean region because of political influence. This is my question.
You have a very, very valid point, and it's an excellent question. And it's a question that has plagued the region for decades. And it is not an insurmountable problem. It is a problem that can be addressed if the correct focus is put on the ground. And this comes down to personal relationships.
Okay.
Because you have to remember that the reason that money is being used to change political perspective is because of personal relationships, where a politician will get on the ground and walk around a neighborhood and hand out various little gifts to people and so on and so forth in order to get the votes. Now, look at it from this perspective. If we're on the ground and we are actually showing people and demonstrating to people how they can improve their living and working standards and improve their lives through the implementation of simple policies and the knowledge of how to do it, who do you think is actually going to get the vote at the end of the day when the $200 that the opposition may put forward can only buy a bag of rice and a bus ticket? Well, there you go. You see, at the end of the day, it comes down to that. Let's take a leaf out of the book of Ibrahim Traore. Why would the people of Burkina Faso rally behind a leader such as him? You want to know why they did it? Because he demonstrated the ability to make change. Now, yes, he carried out a coup. It was a bloodless coup, thank God. But what happened immediately after that coup? He empowered the people. And how did he do that? He gave them access to the knowledge of how to help themselves. And he brought about the ability of being able to put the government to help those people empower themselves. And having been to that country myself and seen the ability of people with the entrepreneurial spirit that exists there, there is no wonder that Burkina Faso has made a 180-degree turn and is being able to do that. We need to take a leaf out of this, out of Ibrahim Traore's book, and make it work for us, because we We have microcosms of Burkina Faso across the Caribbean region. And yes, we have larger islands like Jamaica, Trinidad, and so on. But it comes down to this. Unless the education and the knowledge is imparted where people are given the opportunity to lay hold of the knowledge that brings them to the realization that they themselves can become the tool of change, you're not going to achieve anything.
Well, let's get back into Barbados, because the lies, so to speak, and of course I might not like to hear us call it lies, but when you have published documents to say that you will be doing XYZ, and then you come publicly and say, I never said so, I don't know what you're talking about, that now becomes a very serious matter. I'm going to play a video. I think my beloved brother is maybe one person who I'm seeing here. And of course, it is going to be something that I think our listeners will be probably questioning in a minute. Let's play the video.
Be alert and be of a sober mind. Your enemy, the devil, prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour. Now, this video is directly addressed to the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, who in her national address on Sunday came out and denied the claims that were made in my last social media video speaking about Barbados, the Trident ID, and the cashless agenda for Barbados. She said that my claims were totally false, preposterous, and she said that they were total lies, and that I should put up or shut up and to bring the evidence of my claims. So, Ms. Mia Mottley, Prime Minister of Barbados, let me quote your own laws that you passed in our parliament. The Barbados Identity Management Act, Section 510. A person who is not registered under this act shall not A. be added to the National Register, B. be assigned a national registration number, C. be issued with an identification card or a national identity credential, D. qualify to be added to the Register of Electors or revised Register of Electors prepared under the Representation of the People Act, Cap 12, meaning that it can't vote. E. qualify to obtain a driver's permit or driver's license. F. qualify to access any service or good which require the presentation of an identification card to obtain such service or good, meaning that it can't access government service like healthcare, pension, schools, etc., etc. So here's the evidence that you asked for, Madam Prime Minister. To quote you, put up or shut up. So I've now put up, and the ball is in your court, and I am saying to you, so if a Prime Minister could come on national TV and blatantly struggle to tell the truth, while also making attempts to sully the reputation and the character of persons who actually speak out against the tyrannical laws that she and her parliament brought to this country to re-enslave Barbadians, and because I had to speak out, she made these wild accusations. Well, I'm giving her the truth, and I also say this, that if a Prime Minister can go to such extent that that Prime Minister should be made, having been caught in a lie, intentionally misleading the people of a country that it is not true when it is printed and black and white passed by her parliament, then that Prime Minister ought to offer her resignation to the people of the country for intentionally coming on national television and misleading the people of this country. That she did not try to bring these laws as it relates to the Trident ID and trying to take away the rights of Barbadians. So here's the evidence, Prime Minister. What are you now going to do? If you have a conscience, you would resign, offer your resignation to the people of Barbados for intentionally misleading them and attempting to sully the truth.
As preposterous as it may seem, in recent days, a leader of a political party in this country went on social media to tell Barbadians that with the introduction of the national payment system and the Trident ID, you will not be allowed to vote in Barbados without the Trident ID. He went on that without the Trident ID, you cannot renew a driver's license. You cannot collect a pension or access health care, and that your child cannot be registered for school, or that you can't do business with government unless you have it, that you will not be able to do transactions in cash anymore. My friends, this is utterly and completely false. Full stop. It is reckless, and it is beneath anyone who seeks to lead a serious country. And I will say to him, as I said to the other political leader who attempted to cast scurrilous allegations against the Electoral and Boundaries Commission a few months ago, and by extension the government, to put up or shut up. Back up this foolishness that you are using to spread with evidence, or let us get on.
I am now asking the same question. Who who telling lie? I'm lost. I'm lost. I'm totally lost. Let me bring in back my brother here. Because brother Kamar, you might be able to tell me. Listen, sir, I don't drink rum, and I'm not asleep, so I know how I function. But if all the information you just delivered in that video is as real as, and I take it to be a very credible man, right? How in the name of God could anyone refute the documented information that you read and call it lying? I'm totally lost. Explain to me, sir, because maybe you might be able to help me out here. Talk to me.
Well, that one is a special case. I still don't understand what happened there, because the prime minister is supposed to be the chief lawmaker, right? The person who brings law.
Hold on, sir. Hold on. I'm gonna ask you a very crazy question. Do you know if she take a drink every now and again? Maybe. No. Seriously. I mean, seriously now. You. Everybody take a drink every now and again, and maybe when she realized it, maybe she take a little drink. You just sure she wasn't drinking?
I'm not sure if maybe substance abuse. Who knows? I don't know. I don't want to
No,
jump to any
I ain't
conclusion.
laughing, boss. I ain't laughing. This is serious stuff. Because if the thing is written in black and white, and you're reading all of these things and you're bringing the evidence to the fore, then how could one refute the fact that it was not said or it was not documented? That doesn't make much sense to
Well,
me.
here's the thing. The time when this legislation was brought, I don't think the prime minister is the one who brought it, but our prime minister is a world traveler, meaning that probably like 2-3 days on the stretch never finds her in Barbados. So it is probably one of those cases where the digital ID was discussed at the international level, and legislation obviously not read by the prime minister, was just handed down to the minister responsible for science, technology, and innovation at the time, and
Yes,
said, "Well, here, hold that, pass that," and
right.
no real deep discussion. No, we led protests, wrote articles, did videos, or online programs speaking against this Barbados Identity Management Bill. The government actually set a deadline for the entire population to have it, so they were trying to force it on the population. And myself, along with some others, uh, hosted a press conference. And at this press conference, I personally would have threatened legal action against the government of Barbados if they proceeded with this deadline to state that all of the population had to have this new ID by this specific deadline. And I was utilizing the case of Jamaica, where the people in Jamaica took the government to court for their national ID system, and
Yeah.
the government, it was ruled unconstitutional.
Yes.
So we have the same type of system here in Barbados, the same English system. So I was willing to take the government to court on it, and they actually pulled back. They pulled back and they brought the cybercrime bill to shut you up, as opposed to genuinely pulling it back. I said, well, we realize we did something wrong. We're going to stop. No, they just pull back on the deadline. Say, well, there's no longer a deadline, but they went to Parliament the same day, giving us the false impression that they were going to stop with it, but they brought the cybercrime bill under disguise to try to, give us 7 years in prison or $70,000 in jail. If you criticize or say anything with the government.
Yes. A very unique way to shut you up. Absolutely. Let me bring in Mr. Corbin on this one. I tell you, this is crazy stuff. Mr. Corbin, talk to me. What's going on here? Help me. This is absolutely funny.
Well, the thing is, what we have recognized, and that is happening here in Barbados is that the Prime Minister and the other 29 goats who inhabit the Parliament seem to be all drinking the exact same thing, and it's called delusional.
Yes.
Okay? They have a firm impression, all of them, every single one of them. You only have to listen to some of these young ministers that they have in there and stand up. And I start to seriously think that there must be some sort of mind control mechanism going on, because the absolute level of balderdash that comes out of these people's mouths leads to the impression that this is nothing more than a gathering of fools.
Wow.
And at the end of the day, the public of Barbados is locked in a situation where they feel helpless. They don't know how to understand, or they don't understand or comprehend the process by which these people are standing up and speaking. We have an opposition that is virtually toothless, having been sent across the floor to destroy the opposition party, which we know that's a fact. And at the end of the day, we have a situation where, number one, the opposition party has been eviscerated. We have absolutely no voices of common sense and education within the current incumbent political party. And we have zero level of geopolitical comprehension and understanding within the establishment. And I mean zero. There is not a single person within the incumbent political party that can address a simple question of geopolitical integrity dealing with any issue in the Caribbean region, far less internationally.
But Mr. Corbin, hear this now, because and when sometimes I have to kind of tame my words when I speak. But listen, sir. If it is that a community, for example, has a very popular man or woman in that community, and the man or the woman being popular, maybe they won some contest someplace, or they whatever they are known for, they became popular, and by virtue of that popularity, the person said, "Oh, it might be a good thing to run for politics and see if I win, because everybody knows me. I'm known by everybody." Okay, so the person gets to try the luck and get elected as the political representative for that community. All right? No training, absolutely no training, absolutely no preparation, absolutely no knowledge of governance, nothing. They just got elected and ta-da! Government official. Now, I listen to you carefully what you just outlined there. Now, what do you expect, sir? If people have no training in government, in governance, and they find themselves in an office, it's pay a crap you're going to find. Simply put, period. So how do people deal with that? And this has become the trend in the Caribbean region. Well, I'm hoping that other places might be different. I would hope to God. But it's just the popular mindset here in the Caribbean region, where people just elect people because of who they are and who they know and blah, 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 blah. And that's just it. No training absolutely for governance.
Yeah.
How do we change that?
Well, it is a very, very good question about how do you change that. And this comes back to the process of knowledge and education, where the problem that we have faced is that political parties have been designed to keep the people distracted
Yes.
with gossip and preoccupation with things that have nothing to do with the governance of the country.
Absolutely.
While the people who are actually making the deals and wheeling the deals behind the scenes are doing it in the best interest of the corporate establishment who control the finances and the order in which those things fall into place. Now, having said that, you actually look at the paradigm of the Caribbean region. We had an opportunity with the Federation, where the Caribbean region was coming together and understood its dynamic diversity with regard to how it could be a contributor and a complement to the global economy emerging post World War II and so on, and having the ability to come together in various things in trade and financing, and it was aligning and coming together. That was interdicted simply because the value was recognized by the United States of America, and the hegemony of the financial system was put in place then and there. CARICOM was the structure that was pulled out of a hat and put in place and kept in place for the last 45 years to achieve nothing but orchestrate controlled opposition to keep the region divided, so that the control mechanism of each one of the status quos in each Caribbean country could be maintained. Because a region united geographically, spanning 1,800 miles from Belize in the north to Suriname in the south, would bring together, number one, the fifth largest investment regional scenario in the Western Hemisphere, and bring together a diversity of intellect and trade never before seen in the Western Hemisphere for small island developing states. And this is the reason why we have a uneducated political system that panders to the guilt-clad organizations. And there is not a single Caribbean politician today that will not tell you, oh, well, CARICOM this and the UN that. It is absolute and utter bullshit. Tell it like it is, okay?
Oh my goodness.
And you know this is true. You know this is true, Kenny. You hear it all. You hear it every single day, every day.
They won't like you at all, and of course they won't like none of us here, because this is the our truth. Welcome.
Well, the thing is, we're standing on the threshold of great change when we see people taking action against this same level of incompetence.
Yes.
And let us just look at the example that took place today. A very, very clear example of the younger generation of a country completely eradicating the incompetent government lock, stock, and barrel in 6 hours flat. And that happened in Nepal, one of the most highly regulated societies on earth. And the student body of Nepal, 15,000 strong, overpowered the police and burnt the government buildings to the ground. There is no more government in Nepal.
Wow.
That happened today. What does that tell you? That tells you that the overarching political system that had been put in place for centuries and decades, that has kept people divided through rhetoric, lies, and incompetence, is at an end.
It is not working indeed, and I dare say that the whole Westminster system has lost its teeth. It is dead. Yeah. The whole matter of democracy as we know it never did what it claimed. They claim it was designed to do. It nothing about anything we were told even makes any sense, because it's just simply not designed to make sense.
Yeah.
but it is designed to fool whoever they can fool to keep you in line, so you can believe it, so they can whip you along and
Yeah,
and keep
precisely.
you moving.
I mean, when we look at something, a country like Nepal, which was a British bastion during the occupation of India and became independent. I mean, the British Army was the subject of some of the fiercest fighters from Nepal. The
Yes,
Nepalese Gurkha Fighting Force Special Forces came from Nepal. These
yes,
are people that are highly independent. These are people that are highly motivated and for many decades have been kept subservient under a British colonial system that has degraded their status within the political system of the greater geopolitical spectrum of India and Eurasia. Now that is at an end.
wow,
In 6 hours, it was over.
wow, wow. Gentlemen, time does fly when you're having fun, and it's unfortunate. It seems to me that we lost some of the a part of the broadcast, but I think we made up for it in the end, um, because we actually dealt with some of the very important points that I think we needed to touch on in relation to what is happening in Barbados. Very, very interesting, though. I think if it is that Barbados is actually being used as the what you call it, launch pad for
Mhm.
the agenda, then it is interesting to see my young brother here, brother Stuart, stepping up to the plate. I hope you have a big armor with some big soldiers behind you and some big guns to protect your backside, because when the day is done, the the state might not like you at all at this particular point in time. However, the people require that somebody protect their interests, and I think this is where it is moving, because somebody has to protect the interests of the people. As we wrap up, sir, before we get out of here, because I'm seeing our viewers have been very nice to be sticking with us. Of course, nice in the proper sense of the word. What will you tell them, sir, moving forward, as the amazing man you are, trying to lead the people in that neck of the woods? Talk with us.
Yes, well, there comes a time in history, every couple of years. Remember, um, during the 1960s and 50s is when you had the emergence of the two-party system in the Caribbean. Fast forward to 2025, you're seeing the destruction of that old order and that old system for a new people-centric led system, which does not have the underpin and the undertone of colonialism and slavery at the base of it. So you speak about revelations and the Bible. The Bible predicted this particular coordinates that we are right now. The Bible actually predicted it. So we actually need to draw some wisdom, some biblical wisdom, to implement them in the mentality, sorry, of our leaders, that they could be able to guide countries with that wisdom, derived from the one and only sovereign God. I think societies have deteriorated to the point because of gluttony and corruption and this notion to want to practice dynastic dictatorship type politics in the Caribbean, to enact total control over the people. But we're saying it as that opposite. We want to give the people actual freedom, self autonomy, and self actualization to be able to morph oneself, while participating in a society of merit, where you can be chosen to do any job, high level or not, based off merit and not based off sex, favor, because you know somebody, or because the corporate entity spots you in. We want to create a level playing field of Caribbean societies for Caribbean people, as opposed to allowing the societal elites who don't even live in the Caribbean to actually control and run the Caribbean and set it up as a bastion where hotels taking over our best beach land are set up to allow tourists to come in and enjoy the Caribbean. Well, the people right here in the Caribbean who do actually all of the dog and grunt work, lifting the society up with taxes called tourists don't pay a lot of taxes. Tourists get duty free. Well, we have duty paid. So the ones who actually pay the taxes, who actually fund the society, we believe that they should be at the forefront of any development led to Barbados or any of the Caribbean countries to Central America or even South America, because for me, this is one America stretching from North America through the Caribbean straight down to Chile at the
Put
bottom
up
of.
back your put up back your mic so we can hear you.
Sorry, you hear me now?
Yeah, man. Yes, go ahead.
Right. I was saying that we are one region, and they call this region, for lack of better words, the Americas, stretching from Greenland coming through North America, Central America, the Caribbean, and even down to Chile at the bottom of South America. This entire region, as identified by the United States, which led to the development of the Monroe Doctrine. And if you follow history, that Monroe Doctrine was derived to push the European powers out of this side of the world. And I really think that we need to draw some inspiration from what James Monroe intended for these parts of the world, that we could be self-autonomous and to lead our people to true development and not further into colonial slavery.
Well said indeed. Absolutely well said. And I thank you so much for joining us this evening. Uh, I'll definitely keep a very tight tab on what is happening there in Barbados. Mr. Corbin, good friend of mine, of course, we continue to share very practical information in relation to what is happening. And of course, I'm happy that you were able to be brought in this evening. Keep it strong. And as you move, put that extra 2 eyes on your backside. You'll need them. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All the very best to you. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Corbin.
Yes, sir.
I don't know what to do with you, because you I call you the head cook and bottle washer and all of these things. What Barbados, great place, wonderful people, but rotten government. Where do we go?
Well, that's a very good question. Where do we go? And I think that where we go from here is that we have to inspire our people to get past the mindset of the creation of this fictional savior that has become what people call the Prime Minister of Barbados. Because let's face facts. When you mention the word Mia Motley anywhere across the Caribbean region, people say, she's the best Prime Minister the Caribbean has ever seen. No, nothing about what goes on behind the scenes. And the thing is, what we know about humanity is that when you create a fictional savior that captures completely the minds and hearts of desperate and a spiritually disconnected population, you have the implementation of a blind faith that is then given over to their entire lives into believing that the fiction of a so-called government integrity, but the reality on the ground is that not a single shred of evidence exists to prove that. And then you would say, well, if this is such a fictional situation, why keep up the facade? Why keep up the facade? Well, don't they have enough power already to keep up the whole facade? Why would they bother to do all of this? Putting themselves forward and being at the forefront of everything to give people the impression that they're in control when they do already have so much power and control. Well, 2 words describe that. It's called spiritual manipulation. Okay? Now, you see, the real power of the mind by the devil and Satan can only be exerted through deception and a vision of the unreal in order to empower a desire for some sort of tangible reality. Okay.
Wow.
This translates into basically a virtual carrot dangle. Okay. In other words, you're dangling the carrot in front of the horse. And this is basically the horse and chariot of public perception.
Yes.
All right. And the public responds with a blind emotional response and embrace and the alternate belief, okay, in the fiction rather than the grounded or the grounding of spiritual discernment that exists within their own social and soul consciousness. So what happens? You have millions of people that are being deceived, and the deception is so completely elaborate that the reality becomes exhausting because of spiritual disconnection. And anything that dissects that fiction of their belief is instantly deemed a heresy, and rapid denial and cognitive dissonance and everything is all thrown into the mix, which only further distances our population from the truth.
Wow.
So how do we combat this? Spiritual mindset of instruction through truth, knowledge, and education.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There you go. Wow. Wow. I wish to join you on this journey, sir, because when the day is done, it is what it is. And until my people are destroyed, the word says, for lack of knowledge. However, we tend to interpret that it sometimes we over spiritualize what is written in the book. It's a very practical position, and I think we need to probably begin to see through practical eyes if we're going to begin to change our lives, even moving forward into the year 2030. Mr. Corbin, whatever you do, you take it easy. Take care of yourself, and it's always a pleasure having you here. Whatever you do, you keep it strong. And for all of our viewers who came on late, actually, it seems to me that the whole matter of streaming was a little late. It seems to me, because from what I'm seeing here, a part of the program was not caught. However, I think the best part was left for last, and of course, we still have a pretty good following right now as we watch our viewers. Thank you so much for joining us, whether you're in Barbados, Trinidad, the rest of the world, wherever you are across the world. Thank you so much for joining us. And of course, The Raw Truth is brought to you every Friday evening right here on Hotspot International TV, we call it. And of course, we also stream on Hotspot International Radio across the world. Feel free to contact us, whatever you're going through in your country. Let us know. We're on a Caribbean move right now, and we need to make sure that we capture the happenings within the Caribbean region as we share it with our brothers and sisters across the region. Mr. Corbin, keep it safe, and whatever you do, we keep spreading the information the very best to you until we catch up a little later.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, my brother. All right, so this is where we have it. This is the end of the program tonight, and of course, we intend to continue to bring you the happenings across the Caribbean region as we keep you updated. And if you want the truth, nothing but the truth, come to us here on Hotspot International Television. We will always bring you nothing but the truth. Our number, if you wish to contact us, is 869-664. You can WhatsApp us at 4555. That is 869-664-4555. You can WhatsApp us at that number, and of course, you'll be sure to get through to us if you wish to connect with us and share with us exactly what is happening in your neck of the woods. This is a regional station, and of course, whatever is happening across the region and the rest of the world, our duty is to bring it to you in fine style. Thanks again for joining us. It is always a pleasure having you coming on board. And of course, come next Tuesday, we'll be someplace else in the region. We're not sure where we'll be yet. But whatever you do, you take care of yourselves. And don't get involved in politics. Politics don't have anything much to give you. I might sound strange to some people who have benefited. Politics doesn't help anybody. Politics is a mind game. So is religion. Religion is a mind game. Don't get involved in religion or politics. It has little to give you and little to benefit from. But make sure that you understand who you are and you're purposed to developing yourself, to become self-reliant, to become strong, to become resolute in your own thinking. And as long as you can become resolute in your own thinking, then no one can kick you around and tell you what to do, when to do, how to do, because you have your own determination as to who you are and what you're about. Bless you. All the best until we catch up later. Keep it safe, okay? All the best to you.